time, it looks like he's late. Children of Israel, they're coming out of Egyptian bondage, and you hear the chariots, and they're coming from behind, and they're wondering as Moses is leading them through, and the Red Sea is there, and they're wondering, God, where are you? He was right on time. You have the Philistines, they're coming after the Israelites, and you have this giant yelling at the Israelites. And then David, God said, we're right on time here. And he shows up with a couple of stones in his bag, and he calls him an uncircumcised Philistine. He was right on time. We can go through the entire Bible, Steve. He's right on time. Jonah, he's in the belly of a whale, 3 days. God was right on time. Bartimaeus on the side of the road, he's blind. He's what? Nope. Jesus is right on time. The woman with the issue of blood, right? God was right on time when he sent Jesus through. Every single story in the Bible and in our lives, God is on time. It may not look that way, but he is. He doesn't work. A day is 1,000 years. 1,000 years is as a day in God's eyes. He's on time. Whew, that song is amazing. We should just be playing that, right? Turn your car into a house of worship as you leave here today. You don't have to be in these four walls, right? Come on, church. All right, I'm excited today. I came amped up. Put on your seatbelts. Get ready. Serious. All right, but before, children, teachers, you're going to make your way out. I'm going to put up, just the announcements. We had Louise Depp was in a car accident this past week. Not sure how many of you saw that. She broke both of her wrists. Kind of a crazy story. Naeem had to take care of her new sick dog, and her brother Ted. They weren't able to have the Bible study this past Thursday. So it will be this week and then the week after. So this Thursday evening, we will have Ephesians chapter 2 in here. All right, so please come on out for that. On Wednesday night, we have soaking prayer. First one that we haven't had one in a long time. Come on out if you want to step out from the traffic and just come into the presence of God. I had a dream about this in the middle of the night with you guys. I'll tell you later on. It was weird, right? We were in the soaking prayer meeting. I have no idea. I don't have dreams all the time, and I'm like, why am I dreaming about a soaking prayer meeting on a Saturday night? But I was anyway. All right. So you see the other events that we have coming up now. Last week, who took down the scarlet cord that we had in the back? Michael. No, Michael didn't do it, but I'm asking, Michael, what happened? Who took down that scarlet? Did Tabitha take that down? We don't know. One of the kids stole it. I got it. I'm going to go after that kid at the daycare that stole that red cord that we had hanging. All right. If you weren't here last week, we finished up chapter 2 in the book of Joshua. And we looked at the life of Rahab. Now, as timing would have it, before I jump into the next part of the story for the children of Israel, which again, amped up about this, you can't make this stuff up, how God works. You want to talk about God being on time? The kids are all gone, right? So it's pretty safe for me to talk about this. Megan sent me a message. I'm not on TikTok, y'all. I don't go on TikTok all the time. I know some of you do, right? I don't know if you can get into heaven, but some of you go on TikTok a lot, right? I don't go on there a lot, but she sent me is there like a word for that? I'm just going to say a talk. She sent me one about an individual that got baptized, all right? Ready for this? This is the epitome of a modern day Rahab, the number one all-time best-selling adult industry, film industry individual. I'll just leave it at that, right? And this person, her name, I don't know how many of you have ever heard of the name before. Did you ever hear the name? Jenna Jameson. All right, okay. She is synonymous with the adult film industry. Did you know she got baptized and became a Christian recently? All right, amazing. But I want you to hear what she said and posted this past week. This is amazing. You tell me that God is not on the move in the world? And listen, I don't care what you're in church. These are the kinds of stories that we need to talk about. People that look like they're so far gone. This is what she said. I don't have my glasses on, but she said, I can't express how emotional I feel. I have just been baptized and have given myself to Christ. I want to extend my hand to anyone out there that feels alone and irredeemable. I hope you see me and witness the love of Jesus. His love knows no bounds. I feel so loved and guided by her partner, whoever the heck that guy is. I don't know. Church, this really happened. God is doing amazing things, and nobody is too far gone. Nobody is beyond his reach. Those people that you look at and you say, God can't do something, well, look what he did with a modern-day Rahab. It should give you some faith to start praying for those people that seem so far from him. God is moving in this hour, church. Great story, great story. All right. Now, I'm going to transition from that. I'm going to ask you a question to start off today's sermon. Have you ever waited a serious long time for something that you really were looking forward to? Did you ever wait a long time for something? See a lot of you nodding your heads. Yeah, something that you were looking forward to. Long time, right? Well, I did a little research this week. Now, I've said this a lot over the years, but my wife and family, they're in the back over there. Pidge, I'm so glad you're here today, Pigeon. That Disney World, right? They love Disney World. So I wanted to look up what is the longest period of time that somebody was waiting online at Disney World, right? Which is like, right? Which is, I mean, hell. That place is hell in a lot of ways, okay? So I found out that it was New Year's Eve, 2022, Pidge, right? This was the ride. I was shocked by it. The Tower of Terror in MGM Studios. You ready for this? Christian, you ready? It's New Year's Eve. What is wrong with human beings? People waited 8 hours for the Tower of Terror. This isn't like the Rise of the Resistance. This wasn't some new ride. This is an old ride. Who waits 8 hours for a ride? That's insane. If you ever wait more than 2 hours for a ride at a park, I need to worry about you, right? Now, this pales in comparison. I want to give you the Guinness Book of World Records. Longest time that people waited for something. All right, it is the summer of 1990. In 1989, the Berlin Wall, boom, comes down. In 1990, I want to take you to the former Soviet Union, the Iron Curtain across Eastern Europe. It is unraveling. And people in Moscow are waiting for their first ever taste of fast food, McDonald's. McDonald's. All right, this is crazy, right? You can't make this up. 30,000 people would wait in a place called Pushkin Square in Moscow. 30,000 people would brave the elements on January 31st, 1990, to get some gluten, to get some very unhealthy fast food. Right, here's a picture. Let me show you a picture. The line. It's insane. People waited, ready for this? People waited up to 10 hours for a hamburger and some fries. And the Economist said, the magazine, the journal said it was the most expensive Big Mac ever, that they were charging $6.50 for a Big Mac, which was half a day's wages for the average worker living there. McDonald's, really? That's really nice. You want to open up the West to these people and then extract as much money as you can from them in the process. But people waited this long. Listen, communism, it wasn't like they just wanted a taste of fast food. This was something they were waiting for 70 years, waiting for a taste of what the West had to offer. And this was symbolic of that. People saying, I will wait in the freezing cold just to get some fast food. Amazing. But y'all, you didn't come here this morning to hear about Big Macs. You didn't come here this morning to hear about Whoppers. You didn't come here this morning to hear about whatever else, Chick-fil-A. You came here this morning, hopefully, to hear about the gospel. And I'm here to tell you this morning, as we roll into Joshua chapter 3, that the children of Israel are going to be waiting a much longer period of time to go into the promised land. it's time now as we roll into, if you have your Bibles, you want to follow along on the screens, I'm going to hit you with the first 4 verses in Joshua chapter 3, right? And then I'll unpack this. I'm going to kind of hit this in a different way. It says here at the top, then Joshua rose early in the morning. Remember, chapter 2 was about Rahab, right? Going into the promised land, going into Canaan. Joshua and who was the other guy that's with them? Caleb. They're the only guys that have even seen anything of the promised land before. So here we are in the next chapter. Joshua rose early in the morning. You got to love that right there. He's an early riser. You got to love early risers. And they set out from the acacia grove and came to the Jordan, he and all the children of Israel. How many people do scholars estimate are there at this point as we're going to enter the promised land? Anywhere between 2 and 3 million people, including women and children. Is that the picture you had? If you've read this text, it's a lot of people, right? They're going to have to cross over. Logistically, not easy. And lodge there before they crossed over after 3 days. I underline that. Maybe that's important. I don't know. The officers went throughout the camp, giving orders to the people. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God and the Levitical priests carrying it, you are to move out from your positions and follow it. Then you will know which way to go, since you have never been this way before. But keep a distance of about 2,000 cubits. Don't you love that? How many of you know what 2,000 cubits is? You know what 2,000 cubits is. Remember I told you, Christian, right? You're a science guy. Why are we still one of only 3 countries in the world that don't use the metric system? Myanmar, Liberia, and the United States of America. Yes, we still hold out. What's wrong with us? Crazy. Anyway, 2,000 cubits. You want to know how far that is, by the way? Of course, you know I do my homework, right? It's 1,000 yards, 10 football fields. That's how far. So the priests, as you're going to see, with the Ark of the Covenant, Pastor Linda, they're half a mile ahead. So they're up there half a mile ahead. They're not allowed, the people are not allowed to get any closer than that, right? And you know if you get closer, that's going to be a problem. A guy named Uzzah found out later on in the story, you touch the Ark of the Covenant. Anyway, all right, between you and the Ark, do not go near it. All right, so let's just stop right here. This is the beginning. So I said to you, they've waited a long time. So how long have they waited? Think about this. Now I should even take you farther back. If you go back to Abraham, right, the progenitor of the faith, and God promised him, he said, look, your descendants, look up at the stars, Abraham. Can you count all the stars? And he's like, no, I can't do it, right? Look at all the stars. Your descendants, oh my gosh, they're going to be innumerable. And he says, the promised land, the vision he gives Abraham, and Abraham never gets to see it, but if you go from that point and you move forward, when the children of Israel are in the wilderness for 40 years, and they eventually come out, you're talking about 450 years. That's how long it's been to this point, from Abraham getting this vision, what God is saying about the promised land, to this point where Joshua, Moses is dead. We learned that in the first chapter. And now we're going to go in. It's been 4+ centuries coming to this point of waiting such a long period of time. Now, let me just show you. Can I just give you a little context? I always hate, you can't understand a sermon. You can't understand sometimes things in the Bible without understanding the context. So you need to see geographically, because all these 3 bodies of water are connected. You have up top here the Sea of Galilee. You need to know that the Sea of Galilee, some of you have been there, right? Jesus spent a lot of time there. Disciples, fishermen. Sea of Galilee flows into the Jordan River. A lot happens at the Sea of Galilee. A lot happens in the Jordan River in the Bible, Old Testament, moving into the New Testament, and everything dumps into the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea water goes in, nothing goes out, right? It is the lowest point on the planet. We were there, Dead Sea, lowest point on the planet. You know what my favorite moment was? The most memorable moment of swimming in the Dead Sea is having an older brother that was splashing in the Dead Sea. And you're not supposed to be splashing in the Dead Sea because it's no life. That's why they call it the Dead Sea. There's no fish, nothing. And this guy is thinking that he's home in his pool, and I'm like, get away from me. I don't want to get the water in my eye. Ted, do you remember that? Yes. People are everywhere. And I'm like, John, stop. What are you doing? Jen, do you remember that? Yes. So my brother, so him. Anyway. So here we are. So now you get a little idea, you get an understanding of this, of what's happening as everything kind of flows into that. I'm going to get back to that later on, but I want to give you the context for this. Now, the next thing that you heard mentioned in there is the Ark of the Covenant. So the Ark of the Covenant, what is this? This is symbolic of the presence of God moving with the people of God. So as they moved, anywhere they went, the presence of God was inside of this. And I'm not going to, it's made of acacia wood. You heard them talk about, they said acacia in the beginning. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but suffice it to say there are 3 items that are inside there. One is the law, right? The tablets that were given to Moses, right? Yeah, Indiana Jones, right? Anybody saw Indiana Jones, right? So your brain probably goes there, right? And the Nazis are trying to get it from him, and there's a lot of inaccuracies historically, theologically in there, but it was still entertaining nonetheless. So the Ark of the Covenant in there, that's one item that's in there. Number 2 was Aaron, who is Moses' older brother. It was his rod that was used that budded and blossomed and made almonds, right? So that number 2 is in there. His rod is in there. And then number 3, there is manna. Pastor Joe, not manna-got, just manna. A pot of manna is in there, which was symbolic of the fact that God had sustained them in the wilderness. Now, I want you to see this. This is prefiguring who Jesus Christ actually is, because he is all of those things. The law is in there. Jesus will fulfill the law. Jesus is our high priest who can be touched by the feelings of our infirmities. Going to the old King James. He understands. He knows what it's like. He is our high priest. And then the manna. He sustains us daily. It's his life, not our life, that sustains us. This is a picture of who Jesus is for us as Christians. So here it is. The Ark of the Covenant is moving forward. He is sufficient. He sustains us. And now they're going to be entering the promised land. Now, I got that all out of the way. Is everyone with me? Class, you're all with me. All right. It doesn't look like some of you are, but I'm just going to pretend that you are. Now, I'm going to have you jump down to verses 14 and 15. Verses 14 and 15. So I read you only the first 4. I don't usually go out of order like this, but this is just kind of the way God gave it to me. 14, it says, "So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priest carrying the Ark of the Covenant went ahead of them. Now the Jordan is at flood stage all during harvest." Now here's another thing that I want to bring to your attention. The Jordan River. The Jordan River, right? What did you think of when you saw the Jordan River, those people that have seen it? You were there. What'd you think of it? Anybody that was there, what'd you think of it? Was it what you thought it was going to be? That's what I'm asking you. Dirty is not well, first of all, dirty is not the word, okay? Talking about waste, it's one of the most polluted rivers in the world, right? Today, it is. I looked it up. You can look it up it is one of the most polluted rivers. It looks more like a canal today than an actual river. Let me show you a picture. This is the spot where some people, and I said it last week, some people, one of your pastors was not brave enough to go in the water, right, and get baptized. That water is disgusting. And some people in here, they were braver than I am, and they decided to go in there, which is cool to get, hey, where'd you get baptized? I got baptized in a pool. I got baptized, I got baptized in the Jordan River. That's kind of cool to say that you did that. So they did. But the Jordan River looks nothing like you would think it looks. That is today. You need a lot of faith and a lot of courage to step into that water today. Right? You with me? Was that what you expected it to look like, those people? What do you think it was going to look like? What? Clear. By the way, I didn't say it. Remember the Dead Sea? As we're on the bus and we're coming down, it looks like the Caribbean. The Dead Sea, as you're looking at the water, oh my gosh, it looks like aqua blue. It looks gorgeous. And then you get down there and you're like, oh my God, you're thinking how is this the Dead Sea? How is nothing in there? And you get closer and you're like, all right. And you get in there and then you feel it and you're like, okay, I realize why it's called the Dead Sea. But this is the picture that I want you to see today, but this is what's happening in the story. It's this. Okay, now you've read this story a lot. Did you ever really sit there and think about when it says it is at flood stage? Because that's what's happening here. So what does this mean? Seasonality-wise, This is the time. We know exactly when this would have happened. This is harvest time. This happened between March and April. This is a real story. And by the way, people go, I don't know if I have enough faith to believe these kinds of stories. If you can believe Genesis 1:1, that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, then I believe everything else that's in the Bible. And I don't need to go, listen, the fine-tuning of the universe, I can give you the cosmological arguments. Listen, I love apologetics. I could sit up here and talk about all this, but listen, for me, at the end of the day, if you believe Genesis 1:1, then you can believe everything else in the Bible, all the miracles that happen, because they're true, right? So here, you see this. This is a picture of what it would have looked like. Now, I asked you earlier, how many days, we read this and I underlined it, how many days did it say the children of Israel are sitting at the Jordan River before they even cross? 3 days. Can you imagine being somebody sitting at the Jordan River? It's at flood stage. Mount Hermon, the snow would melt and it would come into the river, right? And the seasonality of it being harvest time, a lot more rain. It's the river of death. That's what the Jordan is. At this time, the Jordan is the river of death. So you may have had a picture. Come on, be honest with me in church this morning. Did you have a picture of them crossing the Jordan River one day and it was just like, hey, all right, let's go, and they crossed over? Come on, that's the picture I had as a kid growing up. I don't know. That's the picture I had. That is not the picture that is here. It is a raging river and there's no way to get across it. It is impossible for the children of Israel to make their way getting across because it is at flood stage. Can I tell you something this morning here in this sermon that you need to understand? This flood was intentional. This was an intentional flood, y'all. This wasn't like just happenstance that God said, you're going to cross over. It's just going to happen to be March and April. It's going to happen to be harvest season, and that's the time that you're going to cross over. No, God said, I'm going to bring you to the Jordan River, and you're going to wait there 3 days, and you're going to look at the raging Jordan, and you're not going to know how you're going to cross. And Joshua's not going to say, build a bridge, get a boat. They're waiting on God to see what God has in store. There was uncertainty. I'm telling you, these are real people. There was probably fear. There was probably trepidation because they don't know how they're going to get across. Is anybody else in here today, do you feel like there's a flood in your life? Do you feel like there's events and situations that are going on and you don't know and you're like, God, how am I supposed to traverse this? How am I supposed to get through this situation? I would tell you that you have an on-time God. I would tell you that He knows and He uses every single situation in your life. He knows exactly where you're supposed to be. He knows how you're going to cross it. It just may not look that way from your vantage point. And here it is. And here's another thing. Come on, we've been talking about the exchange life. We've been talking about the rest of the gospel for a couple of years, church. I think for me, it's important to understand here, why would God do this at flood stage 2? To show them there's no way humanly possible that you're going to get across. You try, go ahead, try as hard as you can. And church, I'm here to tell you, religion tells you to try as hard as you can, and you'll get across into the promised land, and you'll get everything that you ever wanted, and it doesn't work. This text is telling us this morning that self-effort, pride, everything that we think is going to carry us across into the promised land and give us the life that we always wanted is going to fail miserably. The self-life is going to fail. There's no reason He does it this way. This is a head-on battle with the self-life. God is trying to say, look, you need to see the inadequacy of the self. You need to see the inadequacy of who you are. The only way it happens is if you trust my life. This is prefiguring what Jesus is ultimately going to come and do and say, I'm going to live the life that you can't live. I'm going to live through you. Yeah, there's a flood that's here, but guess what? I'm going to take you across. You're not going to have to try to do it on your own. You're not going to have to muster up enough strength. You're not going to have to muster up enough courage. You are going to get to the other side, but it's going to be not by might, not by power, but by my Spirit. That's what He says to us, church. Notice this too. This stood out to me. Now, I didn't read this part, but I want you to see it. Look what He says in 3:5. And Joshua said to the people, sanctify yourselves. Sanctify yourself is get yourself ready. I want you to notice what He doesn't say. It doesn't say, hey, get your swords, Get your armor on. You have to be ready to go in and fight. You're going to go in. Hey, go build something. We got to get across this. We got to figure it out. No. It's get your heart right with God. That's the only thing that you need to do. That's the only requirement to understand that there's another life that's going to take you through. That's the only thing you have to do. And that's what Joshua was telling the people. Sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders. How about Joshua? Can we just pause? Joshua has taken over from Moses. Those are pretty big shoes to fill. Who wants to take over from Moses? Look at the miracles. God has parted the Red Sea, and you're this guy. Really, God? I have to take over from, really? I'm taking over from Moses? Come on. It's not fair. And he comes in, and I love it. Tomorrow the Lord is going to do absolute wonders for you. I love what F.B. Meyer, a scholar I love, some of you have heard the name before. He said, when we come to the end of ourselves, we come to the beginning of God. The end of who we are, our strength, our might. Watchman Nee said it this way: Christ is not a helper. Church, please understand, so much in the Western church talks about Christ. You hear everybody talk that Christ is just a helper. He's going to, you know what, God's going to help you get through. That is not Christianity. Christianity is that another life is going to live in and through you, and he is going to carry you across the Jordans of your life, through tsunamis, through hurricanes, through tornadoes, through earthquakes. He will take you through. He is the life. He does not come to improve us. Come on, church. God, I just want you to work in me. I just want to be better. I just want to have more character. I just want to be a better person. And I'm like, that's not the gospel. But that's what a lot of Christians believe. That's what's espoused, I'm sorry, from pulpits. It's not the rest of the gospel. He comes to replace us with himself. Gosh, how good is that? He replaces us with himself. We don't have to do it. And then here we go. Look, in 15 and 16, look at this, right? I read you the first part. I'm going to read it again. Now the Jordan is at flood stage all during the harvest. Yet as soon as the priest who carried the ark reached the Jordan and their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. Now, let me just pause right here. This is also something I see in the story. All right? Now, oops, I went the wrong way. Look at this, right? So imagine you're the priests. Imagine you're the priest, right? You're a priest. George, you're one of the priests. There's no way in God's green earth that I am, let me show you now. Now I'll fast forward. Right? There's no way in God's green earth I'm one of the guys in the front. You're telling me, wait, what was that again? I'm supposed to be, really, come on, these are human beings. I'm supposed to, these Levitical priests, I'm supposed to hold the Ark of the Covenant, and I'm going to go first. No, hey, Bobby, you go ahead. You go ahead. I'll be in the back, right? Because I want to see if Bobby gets sucked into the water and Bobby dies, right? I feel bad for Bobby, whoever Bobby is, but you know what I mean here. That's crazy. Real people, this is a real story. We go back, right? And the priests were at the water's edge. The water from upstream stopped flowing. That's going to be important. It piled up in a heap a great distance away at a town called Adam in the vicinity of Zarethan. While the water flowing down to the Sea of Arabah, that is the Dead Sea, was completely cut off, so the people crossed over opposite Jericho. Now, we also know that they crossed over. Does anybody know how long it took them to cross over? How long did it take? I told you there's 2 to 3 million people. How long would it take them to cross over? How do you do it? All right, 2, get in line. Hey, everybody get in line. Get in line. Everybody get in line. How long do you think it would have taken them? Come on. How long did it take them? It took them a day. So let me ask you, how did 2 to 3 million people come across? And I can give you, one scholar goes into a whole math thing on how this really worked. I want you to see they're stretched out for miles. They would have been stretched out for miles. It wasn't like everybody is behind each other. No. They would have been stretched out for miles as they're crossing over. Okay, now, I underlined that part there where it says that there is a town called Adam. You know what? I should probably stop and talk about this a little bit. How come the Red Sea, Dana, how come the Red Sea gets all the love? The miracle. How come the Red Sea gets all the love? Bob, am I right? The Red Sea gets the art. It gets the movies. It gets Charlton Heston. Oh, right? Come on. How come the Red Sea is the story? I want you to tell me, and I'm here to throw this out there. If you have any creativity, we need somebody to make a movie We need somebody to dramatize what happened here at this event. Now, I need you to see the difference between the Red Sea and the Jordan River. In the Red Sea, Moses lifted up his staff, and what happened? The water is parted, right from left, and the people walk through. That is not the case in the story here. In this story, the priest had to put his foot, dip his toe into the water, and then the waters parted. Do you see the difference? They had to have faith to put their feet in the water and touch the water. God said, I'm not going to do anything until you move. We keep waiting for God to move, and God says you move first. Why do we need certainty all the time? Why? Faith is believing God can do something. You know what clarity is? Clarity is just believing that God's already done it. He's already done it. That he's going to do it. So those guys step into the water and the water parts. Again, how come we don't see any of this drama? How come? I've never seen a movie. I've never seen anybody talk about this. We need to talk about it more. We know as Christians, you know the story, but how come they haven't taken this? Come on. This is an amazing story, and that's why I'm so excited about talking about it today. But we need to be stepping toward uncertainty, church. You need to step toward uncertainty. I'm telling you this morning to keep going, to keep praying, to keep believing. In your marriage, you have uncertainty. You have uncertainty with your kids. There's uncertainty at your job. There's uncertainty in this world. God would say to us today, keep moving ahead and don't stop, even though you can't see everything. Look at MLK said. Jamal, look at this. Look what MLK said. Look what he said. He said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take one step out and trust. Put one foot in front of the other. If I take one step, he's going to lead me in the next step. Then he's going to lead me in the step after that. He's not going to give you the GPS and tell you everything. You have to go one step at a time, church. This is the gospel, but we want everything. I want to know, God, how do I give me all the directions to get from point A to point B. And God says, you have to embrace uncertainty in the Christian life. You have to embrace it because you're not gonna know everything. You're not. And the priests, how about this? The priests knew about the Red Sea. Could you imagine them? And they're going, Red Sea, come on. The sea was parted, and they just got to walk through. No. And don't fall. Church, do not fall in love with the way God has moved before. Do not fall in love with the way God has ministered and the way God has moved in your life before, because many times he's not going to do it the same way. We always say, do it again, do it, that great song, do it again. Do it again is a great song, but he would say to us, I'm not going to do it the same exact way maybe I did it before, because he's after something, church. He's trying to build something. You ready for the best part of the sermon? You ready for I didn't give you the title of my sermon. You're right here on time. You ready for the title of the sermon I got today? You ready for the title of the sermon? It's a 16-mile miracle. It's a 16-mile miracle. What the heck am I talking about? What do you mean it's a 16-mile miracle? I'll tell you why. Because it's easy to miss out here. I underline that town, Adam. You see, stay with me. This is the best part, right? If you were asleep, this is the time to wake up. This town, Adam, over here. Did you know that it's 16 miles upstream? Yeah, it's literally, all right, 16 miles. Grok said it was 16 miles, so it's got to be 16 miles. I looked it up in multiple places, 16 miles upstream. So church, 16 miles upstream, God was moving and doing something that they couldn't see downstream. Oh my God, can I get it? Are you with me? Did you just hear what I said? God was doing something 16 miles upstream that they couldn't see what was downstream. Church, we get so caught up with what we see downstream with our eyes that we miss and forget what God is doing upstream. Those prayers that you prayed, how about God is probably working 16 miles upstream? He's already got things figured out, but you can't see it with your eyes. He tells us in this story, 16 miles up there, before the priest ever stepped in the water had already stopped. Oh my gosh. Oh, you thought you knew the story, right? Oh, I thought I knew the story, because I didn't know the story until I really sat down and looked at it. It's one thing when you sit in a theology class and you got to study stuff, and I'm like, what do I need to know? for a test, right? How many of you know you're in school? What do I need to know? Then when you really sit there, the only way you really learn is when you really sit there and you exhaust the text, Steve. Just exhausting this text. And this is the part that is amazing to me. It's 16 miles up ahead that God is saying, I'm going to move. But the only way for it to happen is you need to step in the water and trust that I'm already moving in your midst. Church, don't get so caught up with what you see. Don't get so caught up with your feelings. Don't get so caught up with all this stuff. He is working and moving in your kids' lives. He is moving in your life. He is moving even though you don't see it. And it might be like the Rahab that I put up here in the beginning. It may take years, but God is moving. God is planting seeds. He's using us in the lives and situations that we're encountering. You know how many, 16 miles? You know, I looked it up. 16 miles to me. How far that is? It's like Islip or Kings Park. So God, from Middle Island, so God was moving that far away and they didn't even know it. Now in today's day and age, we have social media. So we have social media, we would have been able to see everything because we can see everything that's happening in real time, right? But for them, they didn't know what was happening here. They had no idea. But God was moving mightily. All right, church. Let's come to the table now this morning. I'm going to share the table. Tommy, thank you. Monty, how you doing? You good? He's good. He's awesome. Now we're going to come to the table. And what's interesting to me is, I think when you look at this story, it's incredible in so many ways. Here we are, church. We stand on the banks of Joshua chapter 3. But I see more than a riverbed here. I see more than a river. You know what I see? I see the gospel of Jesus Christ right here as we're on the shores. As the river is swollen with the snow that has melted down from Mount Hermon, and it looks raging. I gave you that picture before. This is the absolute gospel. Because do you think it's by accident, Naeem, do you think it's by accident that the name of the town that is 16 miles ahead, where God said, I'm just going to so happen to stop the water and it's going to come up in a heap, is Adam? No, I don't think so, because there are no accidents and there's no happenstance. Because Adam just happens to be our spiritual father, who, through him and Eve, sin entered the world and the connection between God and man was severed. It was broken. Adam used to walk with God in the cool of the day. That is Adam. And God said, don't look at what is happening downstream. And all through the Old Testament, there's going to be sacrifices. And there's going to be the blood of animals and bulls and goats. And all of that is going to point to a God who said, don't stare at what's happening downstream, because I know something is going to be happening upstream. And thousands of years later, I'm going to send my son into the world. And when Jesus Christ went on the cross, he was pushing back everything toward Adam. Everything that had happened, all of the sin, all of the shame, all of the guilt, he pushed it back. And he said, I am going to be a propitiation. I am going to give up my life. I am going to, and by the way, he stepped into the waters of death. He stepped into the Jordan River after he was tempted in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. And he comes out, behold, my beloved son, whom I am well pleased, God says. And the Spirit, like a dove, descends on Jesus in the Jordan River. And there he's baptized by John. And John says, oh my God, behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. I am not worthy to even touch your sandals. And Jesus says, no, you are. You're going to baptize me. Because this is going to be a picture of what is going to happen one day, church. One day, don't get caught up with what it looks like downstream. He's working upstream. He went to a cross, and it looked like to Peter, and it looked like to Andrew, and it looked like to James, and it looked like to John. He said, I'm stepping into death so that you don't have to. I'm going to give you my life so you don't have to live it. I'm going to live the Christian life and do what you can't. He stepped into death. And the disciples, they're there. But 3 days later, he was working things upstream. They just couldn't see it downstream. You get nothing out of the sermon today. You need to remember, he is the God of the upstream. He is the God of the 16-mile miracle. That at a place called Adam, he was working the miracle before they ever could see it. What's happening in your life? Come on, what's happening in your life right now that you can't see and you feel like, God, do you even know I'm here? God, do you hear my cries? Do you hear my prayers? I would tell you, he does. Don't get caught up with what you see with your visible eye. Lord, I'm thankful, Father, for the blood that was shed, for your body that was broken on that cross. I'm thankful, Lord, that you stepped into the raging Jordan and how that was a picture of what you would ultimately do on the cross. Father, we don't have words. We're amazed. We're astonished. I'm almost stupefied and terrified to an extent, Lord, at what you did. It's amazing the story that you've been telling. I've gotten so caught up with my little narratives and what's happening downstream that it's been easy at times to miss what you've been doing upstream. I'm thankful, Father, that you gave us this story, Lord, to live in. I'm thankful, Father, even as we go into next week, we look more at the stones and the memorials, and we look back on the situations and just the way that you've moved in our lives, Father. I'm thankful for this table, though, that we can come up with faith and believe as we come up here, as we enter the Jordan right now, as we step into the river, that we can believe for healing for our bodies and our minds, healing for our marriages, no matter what it looks like upstream, that we can know that you're working downstream. Amen. All right, ushers, we're going to take Church, he's already been in your tomorrow. He's in your Monday. He's already in your Tuesday, your Wednesday, your Thursday, and your Friday. He goes before you this week. You believe that? He goes before you, just like he went in this story 16 miles ahead. All right, we do not have a prayer meeting after the meeting today, like we usually do the first of the month. I'd like to say the whole church, we'd like to express our condolences. Jerry, we're so sorry to hear about your mom. You'll see many of us later. So it's a pretty busy afternoon. Jerry lost her mom this past week. I didn't expect to see you here, so I didn't even know you were here. All right, but we're with you. We've been with you in spirit the entire week, and we're praying for you as you go through this very difficult time. We love you. Prayer meeting next week after the meeting. So if you want to stay, if you haven't been in one of those, they're great. Just following the meeting, it's usually like a half an hour, 45 minutes, and we get after it. All right, you have a great week. Enjoy this beautiful day. All right, we'll see you next week.